Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. Today is Saturday, July 20th, 2019. And this is also the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. And as you can see on mainstream media, they're talking about it all over the place. And it is a big deal because, well, you know, the president announced that we have a United States Space Force. So this is new. And there's some other things that we're going to talk about regarding this topic and maybe expand. We're going to expand on this because we're going to be talking today about the story of Frank Stranges, who wrote the book Stranger at the Pentagon. And this was about his experience with an entity called Valiant Thor, who was here to help humanity and help our U.S. government with improving humanity. And we're going to talk about all of those things. And here with me to talk about this incredible subject of Valiant Thor and Frank Stranges is, of course, a friend of the GoldFish Report who everybody knows, Rob Potter from Victory the Light radio show and all of his incredible conferences that he had recently, the From Venus with Love out in California. And, of course, Rob's been traveling all over the world doing conferences and talking about this technology from Venus and Pleiadian technology. So welcome back to the GoldFish Report, Rob. It's been quite a long time.
Yes, it has, Louise. Thank you very much for having me on. It's an honor to be here. You do such a great job. And, you know, I hope people will support you with your wonderful work here. I would like to say one thing. I'd like to call Valiant Thor a human being. He's like us. It's a little different, but we can get that in the interview. But not all these he's would be entities or whatever, but we have a lot of really fun stuff to share today.
That's great, Rob. We can't wait. It's been such a long time, and we've been old friends, so it's really going to be exciting to have you. And also joining with us by phone is also a friend of both Rob and myself, a mutual friend, and a researcher, and also a friend of Mrs. Strange's, Frank Strange's wife, is a friend of ours who we love and adore, and who has a lot of interesting information through his research to share with us on this topic. So welcome, Harold.
Thank you very much. I'm here to share what I know, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, we just need a little more volume on you. That might be a little bit, he's very soft-spoken.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me well now?
Yeah, a little bit louder. Yeah, would be great.
A little louder. Just go ahead and talk a little louder.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your program. And I'm here to share the information I have available. And here I am. Nice talking to you, Rob, also. I'm a follower of the Victory to the Light. So here I am. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Harold. Definitely, he's a very soft-spoken, wonderful gentleman. And, you know, take your step up between my big mouth and Rob's. You're going to have to make sure that Rob's got a powerful voice and we've got some power here. So we're going to have a really interesting conversation. And one of the things that I'm going to do first is I'm going to screen share a paper that I wrote. It was a research paper, and I'm just going to screen share this because what we're doing is, before I do that, wait, I'm going to screen share something else. Hold on a second. Here it is. Okay. And I have to stop sharing. Hold on, I have to redo this. Recently, in the news, the U.S. Navy published this news release. This is from military.com. This is talking about new guidelines for reporting UFOs. This is kind of a big deal because they've really never acknowledged this. And you know how recently there's this big meme going around the internet talking about this 1 million people going to descend on Area 51. Who knows why they want to say, let's see them aliens, you know? So I don't really know if this was just a joke. It probably was a joke to get started. But the government has taken it very seriously, and they're really trying to discourage people from doing so. But here you can see that the U.S. government is finally starting to put information out in the public. But this isn't new. There are other. Can you guys see this Word document here? You can see a Word document.
Yeah.
This Word, you can. Okay. you know what, just to make sure that it's going to come through, I have to re-screen share it. So this was a research paper I had put together on policy, because we have space policy, you know. The U.S. has HR 1508, which was talking about mining asteroids, assigning rights to entrepreneurs who want to mine asteroids. So, I mean, you know, that really went unnoticed by a lot of people. But here we have, this is before John Podesta left the office. Now we don't really want to talk about him because we know what's going on. But, you know, he did say, once again, he says, my biggest failure of 2014 was not securing the disclosure of the UFO files. So this was, he was still officially a member. Actually, you know, he was leaving the White House at that time. And we also have, of course, you know, Hillary Clinton had said, you know, if I'm elected, I will reveal the real truth about aliens. Maybe we could have a task force go to Area 51. It's interesting because she made these admissions publicly. Here we have UNICEF. This is a public service announcement from UNIFES talking about tolerance for extraterrestrial life, which features an image of a boy who looks obviously not exactly human, but, you know, humanoid. And this was aired down in South America. We also had the Pope stating that he would be willing to baptize aliens if they came to the Vatican. So folks, it's kind of hysterical, isn't it? So
yeah, let's go beyond the government stuff here.
Excuse me, Rob. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm trying to lay some groundwork here for official disclosure, and this is important because it really, we want to make sure we talk about this topic with integrity, and that's why it's important to note that these are all, you know, and there's more of them, but I don't need to share all of them. I will include that research paper on the goldfishreport.com for anybody who would like to take a look at that and look at the extent of the policy that we do have on this. So in order to start this out, let's talk about, I'm going to screen share a very short video by Frank Stranges, and I'm going to, so you can understand what the story is about here. Before we jump right into it. So this will just be a minute, and this is Frank Stranges talking about his experience with Thor. It's very short, it's a minute and 20 seconds.
They told me his name was Valiant Thor. He grabbed my hand. His hand was skin soft as a lady's or a baby's skin, but it was a grip of a man. And we spent 30 minutes, mostly me asking questions.
A little louder.
And he claimed that he was from the inside of the planet that our Bible calls the morning and the evening star, planet Venus. He said yes. All of this time, Mr. Thor was at the Pentagon for 3 years, mind you. And he was going and coming at will. He was brought to the President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, and Richard Nixon, offered to give them information on how the American people could successfully live without sickness, without poverty, without disease, and without death. They told him, we're sorry that we cannot accept the information that you're freely giving us because it will ruin the economy of this nation. Well, sir, Commander Thor left on the morning of March 16, 1960, on the outskirts of Alexandria, Virginia, where his spaceship came down. He went into the spaceship and disappeared from sight.
Okay, so this is what we're talking about today. So let's start now. Rob, you've done your conference From Venus with Love. You've had a lot of contact with other supposedly with other Venusians. I'm sorry about that. Did not turn off.
I can see you. We don't.
There we go.
We don't see it. Yeah. So actually, the picture that you showed previously of Valiant Thor, next to him is a gentleman named Don. If you want to show that picture, and the blonde woman I met in Las Vegas with Dr. Frank Stranges. And one of the things I'd like to say is, yes, the government is doing a very slow disclosure process. They want to give it to you like molasses or honey. I believe that it's impertinent that the government release all the information immediately. it's not Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. Well, we can handle the truth. There is a subtle alien influence here that is in violation of a universal galactic codex and interfering with the Earth. And this is given the Universal Galactic Confederation cause for concern. In previous times in Atlantis, they pitted Atlanteans against the Lemurians. And there's another group at that time called Sumerians. And what happened was that they had removed the people that were not implanted and mind controlled, about 100,000 people at that time. And when the negative forces, they're actually from a planet called Satonia, came, they did all the nuclear hydrogen bombs that destroyed the Mojave Desert, the Gobi Desert, and causing for the sinking of Atlantis. Before that, the Confederation removed not only Venusians, but Pleiadians and many others that were sharing technology, because the Atlanteans, more than the Lemurians, were very interested in technology. And so they had were wanting to know the creation and dissolution of matter. And this is a problem today, is that the Earth has people, and our responsibility is not to the par and the level to handle the technology that we've been given. And this is being used against us. And of course, even Mike Adams the other day, the health ranger, talks about terraforming and alien intervention. And it's true, some of this is going on, but we're here to talk about the positive and benevolent extraterrestrials like Valient Thor.
Right, and it's an amazing story. Now, let me just ask Harold to weigh in on this. I think, Harold, you do have that picture. Would you mind screen sharing that picture that you had showed me earlier? This is a well-known picture that I think when most people think of Valient Thor, this is the photo that comes into mind that Rob was just talking about. And, you know, these files would be very, you're right, Rob. I think they should release the files on, especially on Valient Thor. But as you said, you know, the government said that they would, okay, here it is. Do you want to explain this picture, show this picture a little bit?
Well, what I understand is that this picture shows Valient Thor, supposed to be this person. Dr. Frank Stranger identified this individual here as Commander Valient Thor, and this one Vice Commander Don, and this one Vice Commander Teal. That's what I understand. Now about
Actually, the blonde girl is not Vice Commander Teal. Her name is Jill.
Oh, Jill. Yeah,
Jill.
That's right. You are absolutely right. About these people that are in the background, I have no idea who they are.
They're there at Howard Menger's house. I think
Yes.
it's, in March of 1957. That was taken by the Air Force photographer Augie Rogerts, who contacted Valient Thor afterwards.
Mm-hmm. This was in New Jersey, High Point, New Jersey, or High Bridge, New Jersey, right. Now, what were they doing there? Do you recall, Harold?
Well, I understand that he usually held meetings of people who are believers in all these, and they talk about these issues. And that this is just one of the meetings. That's what I understand. What about you, Rob? What do you understand about this type of meeting that they were?
That's exactly right. Here, Howard had meetings and was doing the mission in the 50s. It was very important for the Venusians to begin to establish contact, because what happened was in the 40s, with the advent of nuclear radiation and the radar pinging outer space, the Venusians had to up their security and defense forces and increase the monitoring of the civilization of Earth, because we were approaching, actually we'd already reached the atomic age, and they were very concerned about radiation. So part of their contacts was to make themselves known to select individuals. They continue to do that to this day. And there are more and more ongoing contacts with friends of mine. And I personally have had some ongoing face-to-face physical contacts with that woman right there next to Dawn, the blonde. She hasn't changed her look at in what 56. So was 70 years. She still looks like that, and that's typical of Venusians.
That's amazing. Harold, now, from what I understand, you, as a researcher, you were able to get in contact with Mrs. Strange's, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, allow me to interact here a little bit. The
Sure.
explanation of Dr. Frank is that actually in the war between good and evil in this planet Earth, Jehovah, the God of creation, he, through Jesus Christ or Yeshua, is commanding the entire planet, and it has everything under control according to their plan. And this Valiant Thor, he identified himself as being an angel of Yeshua, and he is in charge of the fleet of Victor I, which is a group of angels that they are here to do the bidding of Jesus and Jehovah in order to keep the plan according to whatever they plan. Creation was done in the mind, and what we're doing as we live every day is the realization or materialization of what it was created already. And the days, I'm sorry, the days are perfect. Life is perfect. We can't think that we are losing or we whatever it is happening is because our spirit needs to go through each individual experience. And that's the reason why he was here, or he's still here, by the way. He wrote a book with Dr. Frank. It's called Outwitting Tomorrow. And in my research, I found that that book was also written about almost 40 years before Dr. Frank released that book. So that means that Valiant Thor had been with us the longest time. And every once in a while, he come back and shows up with something like a book or some sort of communication. And that communication is just spiritual lessons that empower people to realize that they are way more valuable than mainstream society make us believe, that we are almost nothing. We are a little dot in the entire universe. We are meant to be children of God, and that's the information I received from Dr. Frank. And being a researcher of the scripture, I looked and found some Dead Sea Scrolls that haven't been released through Dr. Frank. And when I tried to reach Dr. Frank, I realized he was dead. He passed away a long time ago. I said, wow, so now how can I get a hold of those manuscripts? And that's how I was able to research even deeper. And I found Julie Stranger, the ex-wife of Dr. Frank, and I was able to reach out to her, and we developed a good friendship. And now I would say, yes, we are friends because we speak very often. And she is very ill right now because she had an accident. She fell down and broke her hip and had a contusion on her head because she hit her head on the table. And she's recovering slowly. And that's what I had to tell you, how I met her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. And we know that the research that you accumulated is quite interesting too. So let me go over to Rob and just ask Rob about the technology that you're talking about. I mean, you know, so as Dr. Frank had said, that he came here, Valiant Thor was here to try to help introduce, I guess. Well, he didn't say whether it was technology, but he did say he knew of a way that human beings could live without, you know, suffering and pain and all of this. But what did he mean by that? Was he talking about technology, or was he talking about spirituality?
There is technology, and I don't know how my. I'm sorry.
Harold, could you stop screen share?
I thought I was going to have to turn this completely up. Anyway, so I'm sorry about that, but what I wanted to clear up a couple things first.
Okay, hold on. Oh, Harold, can you stop the screen share button on the top of your screen? Yeah, thanks. Okay.
So
thanks.
what I'd like to say here real quick is that a couple things. Number one, Valiant Thor is from Venus, but he's not a Venusian. He is what is called a created being. He wasn't born of a woman. He's from what is called the pleroma, or the higher dimensions. Now, generally speaking, the higher dimensions are what is truly would be called angels. Now, the Venusians, angel also originally means messenger, but the Venusians do act as messengers. And the Master Jesus Christ is recognized by the Venusians as a very, very high incarnation. In fact, he originally was from Venus. He's a very high being in the multidimensional nature of the universe, and is considered doing the will of the God of God. So there is a spiritual message here. This is not a religion. This is not a cult of personality worship. This is a message of the living presence of God and the truth of man's history and spiritual destiny. And it's true that the Venusians are here, and they are very careful. In fact, I've been hearing from my friend Raymond, who's a contactee as well with the Venusians, and we're going to be sharing some pictures of several Venusians that he knows personally, actually color photos that you'll be able to see. And the technology they have, by virtue of their planet, is that they do live quite a long time on the physical plane. And this is what happens when one person ascends. And there's different types of ascension, but the technology, a lot of it has to do with the negative ions and the Tesla coil power things. And I'm going to have my friend here take the camera, and I'm going to show you a couple things here that we'll be talking about. And I'm take a 2 minutes real quickly here, and I'm going to have you take the camera and start over here and tilt it down and focus like right here. This is a movie, Stranger at the Pentagon, written. It's a fictional story about the true life story of Dr. Frank Strange's meeting Valiant Thor. This book is actually available on my website as well. This is a book that was recently given to me by this man here, Dr. Raymond Andrew Keller II, and he has a personal relationship with this woman here. This is a picture of them. It's a far out story, but you'll have to buy these books of a time travel experience he had with her in 1954. This woman is known on Earth by various names. One is Dolores Barrios, and she is now the Queen of Venus. These three books, the last 40 pages of this book, tell about it. Now, he gave to her security chief, who comes to the Earth and delivers a message for her, this book, which is a book from 1960, mint condition Valiant Thor book. This is the preamble to Stranger at the Pentagon that took place a long time ago. So he sent that to me as a gift. And now the technology that we have in the sacred geometry revolves around pyramids. And this is one example of the pyramid products that I have. If you come over here, I'm going to show you. This was given to Dr. Fred Bell by the Pleiadians here. And this is called, if you look down here at the bottom, this is called a mega orb, and on top of it is what's called an radiator. And you'll notice the wire that's connected to that. It's insulated. That is a Tesla coil. In fact, I'm going to have him come over closer now. I'm going to show you that this is actually live. So this is creating a scalar wave energy and able to project information that's placed in here. So this comes out with the crystals, and there's different things that's on my website. I'll explain it. But if you come over here real quick, I'm going to show you. This is actually live. Can you see that?
Wow. Yep.
So this is a violet flame purifier. This entire column is an air purifier. I'm going to show you over here real quick up there. This is a device I call the crystals, and it will have a lot of crystals in it when it's finished. And down here, of course, are the pyramids. You may have seen me wear these on my head before, like this. But this up here is a device that grounds out and protects the 5G energy coming in from your electricity. This was designed by the Pleiadians to dampen government carrier waves that they put on the electrical systems. Here is another column. And this over here, this one here, is called an ion shower. And in this ion shower are crystals, and I'll show you what's the little disc here. But you see this wire is also connected, and this is, woo! That one's hot, baby. So down here, this wire leads to this, which is
Rob, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you explain why you're getting that that electrical charge there?
Because that's a Tesla coil. Have you ever seen Nikola Tesla?
You know, just for the viewers, can you explain to the viewers why that's happening?
Okay, why that's happening is because I turned it on, and this is part of the technology that creates a plasma field. And this is, if you've ever heard of the integratron from the early days of the contactees, there was George Adamski, George Van Tassel, Gabriel Green, Calvin Gervin, Truman Bethram, Dr. Frank Stranges, and many others who were physically contacted or taken to Venus and had experiences and ongoing contacts, and their ability to share with the public the truth, because the governments had refused the original contact with Valient Thor. So the negative ions at the integratron were part of the advanced healing technologies. So this here, I'll show you, we'll finish this up. These are crystals, and this is called an omnion. And this works in conjunction with the plasma scalar fields. So anyway, so that's, I just wanted to share that with you so folks can see a little bit of the type of intervention that's allowed. They can allow healing type of technologies, but technologies that can be used for weapons or things are not really supported. This is a new device. It'll be coming out on my website soon. This is called a nuclear receptor. It has 144 pyramids. You have a crystal chosen depending on your chakra needs and an energy in the back. This is a charger for the battery. Now this one here, is a Palladian projector. So this is the technology, the type of stuff that they're sharing.
What does it do?
Yeah, what does it do, and why do you wear that on your head? Can you explain to the viewers?
Well, yeah, well, the pyramid works. Pyramid, that comes from the Latin word fire in the middle, and it actually is creating an interdimensional, higher vibrational, what are called subatomic atoms known as AMU, the ultimate physical atoms, the ANU. And this is in Dr. Bell's book, but you wear the pyramid on your head because it has balanced energy. It acts as a lens to focus the Earth's magnetism and create what is known as prana. And that is a negative ion effect. And that speeds up the delivery of prana to the bloodstream, and it also detoxes the brain and purifies the blood. So the pyramid, when you put it on your head, you have the pineal and pituitary gland. So this stabilizes and balances your body. And if you don't want to wear it on your head, which is, obviously in public, it's not, I wear it in the car, but it has a very positive effect. It's part of the healing technology.
So there have been reports of these pyramids over in like Serbia and so forth that have the people go into for healing, and they do, incredible things. And was that the original intent for these pyramids?
The original intent for the Great Pyramid of Giza was to balance the earth. They put several pyramids on the earth, including China, to balance the earth. And I can tell you some things. There is a chamber just above the Queen's Chamber that has a technology that balances the earth. And there's also one beneath the pit. 243 below, there's another chamber that actually is a very high interdimensional confederation technology that is working the earth. And when we speak about these higher dimensionals, these are not God. We in our myth and our understanding is they are gods in the pleroma. So they are interacting, they are watching, and they have made a lot of declarations that these nuclear bombs cannot be allowed. All this is baloney.
Right. We knew that was a problem. Exactly. Now, let me ask Harold. Harold, these pyramids, though, they've always had there was a spiritual component to it. Wasn't there an initiation process that they were used for? Were they involved in it? That Jesus went and learned and studied and participated in at one point?
I
Harold?
really couldn't say because I wasn't there. I heard many things about the pyramid, but I have a question for Rob. I saw the pyramid on top of a fruit where you have a lot of fruit. Is that true that the fruits, they last longer and they don't get rotten because you have it under the pyramid?
It does. It acts as a mummification effect, and it's called the negative ion. So the outside becomes, if you take an apple, put it under the pyramid, you just leave it there. Don't put it around electrical appliances or anything, but put it separately. It has to be made of metal and gold. Never make a pyramid out of plastic or aluminum.
Well, that looks like it's copper, right?
This one is copper, nickel, gold, and copper.
Okay. Okay.
Are on this, yeah.
Okay.
So
I'd like to go back to
the fruit?
So what happens is the fruit will become hard on the outside and get soft on the inside, where another one would just turn to mush and disappear. I mean, it's a long thing. You know, you have to put like one of those little screens over it so the bugs don't get. But yeah, the pyramid has a lot of powerful energy, and it has to be aligned to magnetic north, not true north.
Okay.
Go ahead, Harold.
Thank you for sharing.
Harold, did you have another question for Rob?
No.
Okay. Let me go back to the spiritual aspect of Thor's message here, Harold. What do we learn from? What can we take away from his purpose of coming here? And
well, Valiant Thor, as an angel of the Lord, he's here to do the bidding or to do the commands of what he's being taught by the master, which is Joshua. Every 3 months, they get together in Victor 1 and they have a meeting with certain important people from the planet Earth, and they see how things are going, and they have to be going according to the plan of the Creator. And as I mentioned to you, what I learned from all this is that we are the children of God, and God is actually reproducing himself, and we are one of the most important beings in the entire universe. And because God we are the children of God, you know, somehow he has to make sure that we go through the lessons to a point in which we are not destroyed because he's taking care of us. And that's one of the missions of Valiant Thor is, for example, if there are children, one of the things that he does all the time, according to Dr. Frank, is that he looks for children that they become orphans due to the war, and then he pick up those children and put them on different families in different places like Australia, Latin America, and some of them here. He brings those children into a family who have been contacted in order to take care of those children. That's one of the things. And the other thing is that he left a lot of spiritual lessons, and those spiritual lessons, the job of Dr. Frank, because he was elected by Valient Thor, the job of Dr. Frank was to get all that spiritual lessons and make an inner circle of people so he can just reach out to the people all those spiritual lessons. And as he was doing that for a long time, then Valient Thor asked him, you have been a good servant to the Lord, so what can we do for you? It was asked to Solomon one time, what do you want? And he said, I would like to have wisdom. In this case, Dr. Frank said, well, if there is something important in the Dead Sea Scrolls, information that we can have, because we know that the scriptures have been somehow edited, had been books taken out. So if there are information on the Dead Sea Scroll, let me have them. And Valient Thor provide him with all these scriptures that are enriched with wisdom from Joshua himself. And as we read that information, empower our spirit. And that's one of the jobs that Valient Thor has been doing. And all that information is being spread out. And Dr. Frank record them all, and that's what I can tell you about what I think Valient Thor is doing here.
Did you have insight as to when he said, you know, there's a way that humanity can live without disease and all of this? Did you have any insight into what that was? Because apparently the
Yes.
response of the government was, we can't do that because well, in other words, it'll destroy the economy of the United States, because they were basically admitting that illness is, you know, is the basis of their economy, of our economy, sadly.
Yeah, well, there are professions that they profit from the misfortune of others, like, for example, the attorneys. They make money through the misfortune of other people. Doctors, they make a lot of money through the disgrace of other people. And jails, prisons, all these entities, they make money and they prosper according to the suffering of humans. So what I think is the message in itself is that we can heal ourselves. Definitely, the body was made in a way that it can heal itself, and that information, we can find it, that we can have access to a lot of that information if we read the book Outwitting Tomorrow, which really means, you know, anticipating yourself to the future, so you can become prepared and have a better life. And that what is that book all about. It gives you that life has to be divided on 5 areas and how to treat each individual area. And that is actually, they call it the tree of life. And that way,
they call it the star of life. And here, this is what this design is actually about, the 5 points of star of life.
Okay,
yes.
We'll go back to that in a second, Rob. Just let Harold finish that statement.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that. Go ahead, Harold.
It's as we develop each of those individual areas of life, it's very simple, really. And as we concentrate in each one of them, we start becoming aware and more conscious about solutions that can help us to have a better life and a more healthier life. There is not really such a thing as a terminal disease unless you accepted it in your mind, because there is always somebody who already overcame that situation, and you can heal yourself naturally without mutilation, without knocking yourself down with drugs, making yourself broke because you gave all your money to the system. But you can get away from that. You can become free, because the truth of natural healing can reach you out as long as you dedicate yourself to develop the 5-point star of life.
This is why Mike Adams, the health ranger, has been one of the people who has been censored so highly also on social media, because anytime you're presenting any kind of alternative therapies, you know, it's obviously, at least in the West, it's discouraged. But, you know, of course, Chinese medicine's been around for thousands of years, and so is other alternatives. And so, but on a spiritual level, though, I mean, when you say we're all, you know, gods, you know, what does that really mean? That what you're saying right now, like we can heal ourselves, and what else does it mean? Is that why we're here? We're here to learn to become more perfect like God? Is that really the whole purpose?
That question is for me?
Sorry, let Harold go first. Yeah.
Definitely, if you were to have a child, you want the child to learn things, and you will put boundaries to protect him from hurting himself. But also you will allow him to have the feeling of the rod, so you can correct him. And if we are going to have power, almighty power, we must learn to accept the teachings of our Creator. And the teaching of our Creator is to embrace every situation in our life and not succumb or to take it in a negative way. I give you an example how damaging can be if you take a situation in the wrong way. There was a man who had a little girl, as a daughter, and she became ill, and he was praying to God so much that he can get better, that she can get better, but she didn't, and she died. And he became so bitter inside that he swore himself to make sure that people everywhere will know that God doesn't exist. And that's Darwin. He created the theory of evolution out of bitterness, out of revenge. He took it the wrong way. But we need to embrace that. If you are an artist and you create something and you tell people to go and enjoy it, and they tell you, oh no, that's really not good, you don't feel well. That's exactly how the spirit of the creator feels every time we complain about what happened to us. So if you are hit by a disease, if you are going through a situation, through an event that is hard, embrace it and you will find the solution. Don't just follow the mainstream. Just find the solution. There is always somebody who found the solution to the problem you're living right now. You just need to look for it and you will find it.
That's very optimistic. Go ahead, Rob. Let me hear your
well, I would echo what Harold say. Actually, to understand the Venusians, we have to understand that they are more in tune with the fourth dimension, which is time, and their planet is a higher vibration. We're on the material plane and subject to entropy. So there is always creation and dissolution. One of the things about the Earth that's very unique is that we are under a situation where when when they first were looking at putting humans on the planet 1,800,000 years ago, they were looking at the life forms were very eating each other and a very violent planet. So they only sent 2 beings down from Jupiter to and those beings, their children, after a short period of time, did not have the normal remembrance of their divine inheritance. In other words, you remember your previous lifetimes, the evolution and the path of light and truth. Light and love are the twin flames. So this mission that is going on has tried several times to reveal the truth to the Earth. And one time we got a negative intervention. Another time there was a problem with some of these original converts who actually had sex with some apes, and the Confederation was going to intervene, and then the Ice Age came. This is not the recent Ice Age. This is a long time ago. So the history of the evolution of Earth has been fraught with a series of blows. And again, we're facing this critical time where we're reaching the information. I'd like to share, if I could, real quickly, some screen shares real quick. This is, can you see it on the screen?
Yes. No.
Oh, okay, let me
we see a split screen.
Share. Okay, I'm trying to, I want to screen share this. Can you see this?
No. Try selecting another screen, because it looks like it's split. Or pull it up a little bit. So there we go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is me and Dr. Frank Strange's. This is my friend Raymond Keller, and this is Louis Martens. Raymond Keller written these books. He lived on Venus for 2.5 months. There's Dr. Frank Strange's and I at one of the Inner Circle meetings where I met the blonde Venusian Jill. And I'd also like to share some ongoing things that you should know about. In the early days, the first contactee in the modern area, open to the public, was a gentleman named, let me see here. Is it showing?
Yes, the picture's up.
You can see George Adamski and that
right.
beam. Okay, so that picture was actually a woman. At that first contact in 1952 at Desert Center near Palomar Telescope, there were some people that witnessed that contact from a distance. And there was a man who stepped out as a security in what is called a ventla. It's in the Earth atmosphere only. It works on the magnetic line force of the planet. Behind the mountain, kind of hidden, was a cigar-shaped mothership. And there was also a male inside the craft, and there was a female. And she told him, tell everyone I'm a woman, I'm a man, because they wouldn't accept that a woman can hold a position of authority on Venus. And Venus is actually a matriarchal society. And you can read about that in Raymond's book, a tremendous amount of information that he has about the history of Venus. I'm going to share another picture here so you can see the picture of the girl. Can you see that picture now?
Right, yes.
Okay, that picture, there's two guys. One is called Furkan and Raku. They appeared in 1954 at George Adamski's talk, along with a woman who is known as Dolores Barrios and is now the queen of Venus. The region of Venus is the ascending map of Victoria. So these are actual physical contacts. The people notice them. These pictures were taken from the newspaper because people were questioning them. They looked a little different. They kind of sensed something. She's very small, about 5'2", and you notice her hair. And if you look in that photo also, you'd be able to see, if we had a close-up of it, I don't know how big it is for you, but if there was a close-up of it, you could be able to see she's holding something. Okay, I'm going to share with you another picture of her from another newspaper article at Giant Rock in 1954. If I have that.
Now, did Onek have contact with Valiant Thor?
She may have. I haven't asked her that question, actually.
Be a good question, right?
But this woman is in contact with Cosmic Ray. Okay. And when Raymond did his first, came out with his book the first time, I'm going to share with you, where did those girls go? I have the picture of the two women from Venus who actually appeared. And this is one of the aspects of translation or ascension that I think it's important that people see that they're here, they're not afraid, and that they are actually available for the public to see on occasion. They will be hidden, but they're here and they're amongst us, and they're not afraid of letting themselves be known or be seen. So let me share with you the picture of these two women. This woman, the one on the left, her name was Krebs, and she was a secretary to one of the. Does that make it bigger? But that woman was a secretary to Truman Bethlehem, and she was called translated. She told her friends she would not die, and they appeared at the behest of the Queen of Venus. This woman is from India. She also ascended and became young again. The woman on the left had her DNA taken, her memories downloaded, and she woke up on the Venusian moon base on the backside of the moon. So that's a girl. Here's another woman named, she is Commander Aura Rains, and she is the commander of the moon base Clarion. Again, we have a female in charge, and here she is at the early days of the Giant Rock convention. I'm going to show you another picture here of Raymond at the location, and you'll see the two girls that you saw in the previous picture on the right, and there's a gentleman hidden there.
Yeah, it's a split screen again. Can you pull your screen up a little bit?
Oh, okay. Where did they go? Let me find that. Sorry, hold on. Let
me just ask Harold if you have any questions on anything Rob, or any comments that Rob presented so far.
No, he's doing a great job. I do know, though, that the person that is right there with glasses is not Dr. Frank.
Yeah, that's Raymond Keller.
Okay.
That's the guy who's having contact. So over here is that's the security chief who travels back and forth. And I'm going to show you a gift from Valiant Thor here that he sent to the people of China. Raymond and I were recently.
Pull your screen up, Rob. Can you pull the screen up?
What screen?
Yeah, grab the top of the soul bar and just pull it up to, because it's split. Someone's microphone is really crazy here. Hold on.
We only see a white line.
We only see a white line across a black screen, Rob. You have to grab the edge of the whole browser window and pull it up.
You mean of the
or the JPEG, whatever, just pull it. Yeah, we're not seeing it. You know what you need to do? You need to go off of screen share first and then go back on, because sometimes it won't screen share.
Okay, I'm going to share. I'm going to share this image. This image is a gift. Can you see that?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. That image is a gift from Valiant Thor to the people in China. When Raymond and I went there, you want to talk about censorship. They came in with 50 police into our talk in Chengdu, China. And the people in China are very kind, very sweet, very loving. And they have a Venus Community of the Rose Venus study group and the Victory of Light study group. And they were fined heavily. The woman was forced to shut down her business, and they interrogated us. They revoked our visas and deported us. They do not like any truth or anything. They're very controlling.
Communist.
But the people, well, that's just the government. And the pawns, we have, how did you know this was happening? Oh, we got orders from, the national government. They've been following, I have a certain amount of presence there where people actually kind of know, and they follow some of the chats. They do a lot of chatting there on something called WeChat. So they had followed that. Anyway, so I'm going to show you one last image here of the
so we can wrap it up.
message that Valient Thor sent for the people in China. And
you have to stop the screen share, and then
I'm doing a new one.
Share another window. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
This
here
is how
we go.
Zoom is weird that way. Okay.
It's okay. It was not on the screen. So this is a message written in perfect Mandarin to the people of China. And he included not only that rose, which is very small. It's a very small gift for them. But it was to bolster their spirits in regards to the hardship that they face there. And this book basically says, this book is from 1960 and says, this is my experience. And then it's signed Valient Thor, 6/10/2019. And this will be on my website, which people can see and look into this story a little bit more under the there's going to be a link that's going to have on the homepage there. People will be able to read an article called Meet the Venusians. So the contact is ongoing. The messages are positive. And I just wanted people to know. I'm going to stop screen sharing now.
Right. That would be great. Now, so we can wrap this up. I just wanted to thank you both, by the way, for joining me on this topic. This was a lot of fun. And, Rob, you have to come back. You'll come back again, and we'll talk about more of this, I'm sure, right?
Sure.
Always. You're always welcome on the GoldFish Report. And Harold, will you join us again and talk about this in a little bit more detail, just on the spiritual side of all this?
Absolutely. But you know what? Now, before you leave, I would like to leave a message just in case to your audience, if they would be interested in doing something good for.
Okay. Just try to speak up a little bit more so we can hear you. Okay.
Yes. I would like to share with you and your audience something that it would be important if we can do something for Dr. Frank Strange's wife, because since she had the accident, she had not been able to really work. And because of that, and since also Dr. Frank is gone, her financial had been going down and down and down. And now with the accident, the insurance doesn't cover everything, and she's really, really struggling. She moved out of California because she couldn't afford her apartment anymore, and she really needs some financial help right now in order to buy certain walking apparatus.
How do we get the money to her? What do we do?
Well, the thing is that
to maintain her privacy, the best thing to do is just go to the goldfishreport.com on the main page, and you can make a donation to her there. Indicate in the memo that it's for Julie Mrs. Strange's. So please make sure you don't forget to mention that in your memo section, that you want this to go to her directly, because that's the only way to protect her privacy. What we don't want is putting out information where people, an address.
I understand.
People can just send any crazy thing to her, and I don't want to put her. She's not in good health, and I don't want to put her at any risk of anybody crazy wanting to send strange things, even threats to her, because Dr. Strange's was threatened. So a lot of the material that he wanted to share was not permitted to be released. So I think that what she likes to do, what she would like to do, regain her strength and to continue to support that work. Harold, why don't you finish with that thought there?
Exactly. That's what she wants to do. She wants to come back to work in order to make public all the recordings and all the information that was given to Dr. Frank by Valiant Thor. Even though it happened many years ago, those spiritual lessons, they are eternal. And humans will need that information because it will really empower them. It will empower them in their personal life, in their business, in all the areas of their life, even financially, because that is part of the information that was given to President Eisenhower, and that it was rejected because, of course, it will ruin the economy of the country because people will not depend on the big corporations that, like we are depending right now. So that information is what she wants to come back and do it. But she really needs some money in order to pay for her medicine because, of course, the insurance doesn't cover everything. And she ran out of insurance because of her accident. She fell down, she broke her hip. They had to put a titanium metallic apparatus inside her body. When she fell, she cracked her head, and they did surgery on her, but she's still in the healing process. But her worry right now is that the doctor just said, no, but your insurance doesn't cover it. And they do it in such a cold-blooded way that it hurt her spiritually and emotionally. So if somehow somebody can really help her, she doesn't need much, but a little bit of a lot of people can really get her out of trouble, and we can have somebody working for the victory of the light.
That's wonderful. Harold, it was a pleasure having you on. I can't wait to have you back. I'm sure our viewers have loved listening to you. You're new to the GoldFish Report, and I'm sure they'll be very happy when you do return. And like I said, as Harold and I discussed prior to the program, that I do not publish anybody's address, so I could not send anything. I could not publicize her address, and I don't want to put her at any risk for any ill-intentioned people. But you can go to the goldfishreport.com, make a donation there on our PayPal, and in the memo section, please specify it's for Mrs. Strange's, and I will personally get that to her to make sure that she we'll have a confirmation somehow. Maybe we'll have her write a letter, Harold, and that I could screen share for people so she can confirm that she received it and that she was, any comments she might have about that. So wrapping this up, Rob, do you have any last comments you have for our viewers? And I'm going to include the links to your website in our description section. And if there's anything else, please take this opportunity to share with us.
Thank you. Yes, if people are interested in some of the technologies, they can look at the website also under upcoming events. I would like to share that if you're Spanish speaking or even if you're English speaking, you can meet a contactees coming up here. My friend Louis, who will be in Mount Shasta the 23rd to the 25th of August. I'll be supporting him on the mountain. Louis and I are also arranging tours in September to Bolivia and Peru, where there will be a lot of people in Bolivia especially, but where we have actually live contacts, and you can see that on the Meet the Venusians article that's going up under my Truth References on the homepage. I'm also appearing at the Portal to Ascension Conference, October, I think it's 4th through 6th in Irvine, California, with Neil Gower, and then I'm also going to be in booth 204 at the Conscious Life Expo next February. And then once again, I'm trying to get into contact in the desert. We'll see. I'm going to try and see if we can bring Omnek, the woman from Venus. We didn't have time to share her pictures and stuff, but people just know that the light forces are here, and the amount of contacts are going to take place slowly with individuals. And when you reach a state of unconditional love, as the Queen of Venus said, the Anointed One taught us 2,000 years ago, that we have to love our neighbors as ourselves and to do unto others. So if we can follow those rules and not judge other people and not harm other people, there's tremendous amount of judgment and manipulation that pit people against each other. And that's what we need to stop, is we need to not build walls between countries, but build bridges. And most of the problems are related to a financial system, which your audience knows well about. But the universal economic system is one that provides abundance for all. And as your birthright, free food, shelter, and clothing. And this could be accomplished easily if we would stop putting our money into the military apparatus and the criminals that are running the world's governments. I'm not going to name names here, but there's a lot of things that are just barely scratching the iceberg for the public that are going to be coming out. And I want to thank you, Luisa, for being on here again and for your kindness to have us on and to share this message. And victory to the light. And thank you, Harold.
Thank you.
So thank you both for joining me today. This has really been a lovely interview, and I can't wait to have you all back. I know there's a lot of topics, there's a lot of questions. There's, in an hour we get, so much time to really kind of address these things, but it does give us the opportunity to come back and go into these topics in more detail, because there's so much information that you just can't get it all out in 1 hour. So we hope our viewers enjoyed this. Please make your comments in the comment section. We know there's so much more on the subject, but we couldn't obviously cover it all in one interview, but we will be back. Our guests will be back, and we will talk about this in more detail as things unfold. So I hope our viewers enjoyed this. And again, if you want to help Mrs. Frank Strange's you can go to thegoldfishreport.com. There is a PayPal there, and indicate, please, in the memo section that it's for her because she needs the help. And we would like to see this material that Dr. Strange is coordinated with Valient Thor. We would like to see more of this information published and made available, and that will be a priority certainly for the Goldfish Report. We will do what we can to make sure that that truth gets out to the people to improve the quality of life, and that's really what it's about. We still have lessons to learn, but we can do it a little bit healthier, better quality of life. So having said that, both of you, thank you again. Have a great weekend, and this concludes this edition of the Goldfish Report.